Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of what's the name of our show again?
I think
Otaku
it's
Sentai Podranger
yeah.
with your host B-Shuck.
And Ben Sheen.
Yes, we got another good slate of episodes to talk about today. Um, we're gonna change the order up a bit actually, and start off with the newest, or well, it's not newest now. We've gotten a bit behind already, but episode 21 of Bakuage Sentai BoonBoomger, Flaming Delivery, where we get to see a brand new super form for Boon Red, but we'll get to that when it shows up in the episode. But
His lifelong dream comes in the form of a new form.
yep,
I guess
comes
it
in the
wasn't
form
exactly
of
like
a
yeah. We'll get to it. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's interesting how they I guess frame this episode in a way.
oh yeah. But anyway, the episode starts off with the Boon Boon gang cleaning out an old basement from I guess Taya's mansion because he has a really huge house. We don't really explore it outside of the laboratory too much. But Bundorio comes across some childhood drawings of Taya's, and they're drawings of him as a firefighter because it turns out that's what Taya has wanted to do his whole life. Meanwhile, um, via some pretty convenient coincidence, the Hashilians are dealing with extreme heat. They decide to turn a fire extinguisher into our monster of the week to, um, well, not combat the heat, but we'll get to the plan in a second. But
I gotta say,
anyway,
this Auto Monster design has got to be my favorite. It is so funny to look at.
oh yeah, it was a
Yeah,
really
it
good
looks
design.
it's such a it's because it's got like the screwed up looking eyebrows, like the it's like they really hit gold with this design.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because let's see, I'm trying to let me think if I can describe it well. But like, it's like the handle is like these like it almost looks like a Mystery Science Theater character.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
that's that's the best way I can describe it.
I'll throw it up as a graphic on the video so people can see what it looks like
Yeah,
for
that's probably
themselves.
yeah.
But anyways, Joe checks in with Saibu at ISA to talk about these weird fires that are going on. It's kind of like in South Park with the spontaneous combustion. These fires are just exploding out of nowhere, and obviously that's super dangerous, and we got to do something about that. And Saibu suspects Hashilians, which I'm not sure who else would be causing this oddly specific chaos in town. It's obviously them. But the core, like, emotional plot of the episode is about Bundorio wanting to know Taya's dream. Well, he already knows it, but he wants Taya to say it himself because, obviously Taya hasn't mentioned this once. This is how Bundorio's finding out. Meanwhile,
Yeah, and
Taya's just been purely focused on helping Bundorio with his dream of entering the BBG race, the Big
because
Bang Grand Prix.
I was always wondering like because that one episode where they're like, hey, don't you trust us, Boon Red? And he's like, yeah, guys. And then like when they talk about like dreams, he's like, no, my dream is the same as Bundorio's. And I was like, I kind of made me go, well, that's a little. I feel like there's something more to this, right? And
Yeah.
now we're kind of getting into that.
Oh yeah. It like Taya almost comes off as selfless to a fault, just spending all his time with helping someone else's dream.
Yeah, and
But this
I was a
episode is
little
all about fixing that.
hell yeah, because I was a little worried. Or it's like that's kind of a I don't know. It's like even though he's like like the main character, jack of all trades. Like I was kind of hoping that he wouldn't just be like, oh, my dream is the same as my friends here, you know.
Yep.
Uh, but now finally but it's like it's not like concrete what his dream is, but it's we're still like getting the pieces put together.
Oh yeah. Yep. Just making a little bit of progress, here and
Yeah,
there. But anyway, Genba and Joe they gotta get together and figure out this spontaneous combustion. And so Genba becomes the alter ego, the candy detective, which Ben, I believe you described. Looked dressed like a Bleach character.
Yeah, yeah, he did look like a Bleach character. What Bleach character was it though? It's to do with the because I don't watch Bleach, but he looks like the dude with the Fisher, like the what's it called, the bucket hat? Yeah,
Oh, that guy. I
yeah.
forget his name, but I
I also
remember
forget
who
his
you're
name. I'm
talking
sorry to
about.
any Bleach fans in the audience. I just haven't seen. I've watched like the first four episodes, and that character was in one of those first four episodes.
Yeah, any Bleach fans can go ahead and chew us out in the comments. We'll deal
Yeah.
with it. So Joe and Genba are investigating these combustions, and they notice that like the various people giving their accounts about the combustion, it's like in the moment where it happens. It happens after they mention fire to some degree. Like I forget the examples, but yeah,
There
it's like
was I know there
mentioning
was one
fire.
where yeah, just like any sort of like heat or fire, like I know somebody uh was like mentioned cooking and their
Oh
like
yeah.
entire house like combusted. And then there was other points where it's um it was like somebody like said two words and like saying those words back to back, like there was like a heat related word there.
Oh yeah. Sort of like a pun, I guess.
Yeah. So it's like any sort of semblance of heat or fire would would set off this trap.
Oh yeah. But anyway, cuts back to Bundorio, who's moping because he feels like he's failed his friend on not, enabling him to chase his own dream. Just he feels like he was selfish about it. And our good friends Sakito and Bundi catch him, and they're just like, "Oh, I see you're fighting with Taya." And Bundorio explains, the issue, but Sakito's like, um, "Well, why don't you just like if you already know, then why don't you just tell him that you know what his dream is and help him?" But anyway, this gives Bundorio an idea, and we'll get to that. That'll be the big moment of the episode. What his idea is. But the Hashilians, in their quest of causing combustion, visit an old lady disguised as well. The Hashilians are disguised as fire safety um, observers, and they give her a free fire extinguisher, which thankfully Joe and Genba are waiting in the wings and catch them, saving the old lady as the extinguisher just spews fire everywhere. Like that's fucking crazy. Just um,
Yeah, because like this like scenario happens all across the city. And I was like, dude, somebody's dead. Like somebody got
yeah, there's no
killed
way
in the
they
fire.
saved everyone.
There is a lot of fire. I think to this point, this had to have been like the biggest disaster we've seen in the show. But they didn't really frame it as such a big disaster, but they showed like fire everywhere, you know?
Yeah, which I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes like a plot point, like the ISA or like just society in general deeming the BoonBoomgers like not good enough heroes because they don't save everyone. Because there has been a little bit of a theme here and there about
Mm,
whether or not the BoonBoomgers are, you know, it's almost like they're vigilantes kind of.
yeah.
But
Because one thing I noticed that like something that Ultraman Arc does that I wish this show did a bit more was like show like the human side to these like to the mech fights, right?
oh yeah,
Because like
but
in Arc you see like whenever the Kaijus attack, at least in like the first couple episodes, like how they're trying to avoid all the buildings. Like you see like people are recording it, they're like watching the fight from like their office buildings. In Boom Boom, it just looks like just like a regular set, you know.
yeah,
Like there's no, like, it's society just watch, like just they just evacuate, you know.
yeah, and it's kind of Tsuburaya has always went above and beyond, and they basically have um, not necessarily more budget, but I guess the priorities of their production, they just focus a lot more on having those small details and are able to flesh them out. Whereas with Sentai, the production pipeline's a lot more strict, and there's not as much room for like some real technical special effects work like what Tsuburaya does. So
Yeah,
it's just one of those things where one kind of has an advantage over the other.
because isn't so Toei like owns uh Kamen Rider and Sentai, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because yeah, at least for like Kamen Rider, like all the it's I would say like Kamen Rider so far has been the most like personal story.
Yeah, the
Uh
most, I guess,
yeah,
character driven, you could say.
yeah. And like there's definitely a like a human presence in Kamen Rider. It's a lot more personal than the other shows because um like Sentai, at least BoonBoomger is a lot of allegory. And I don't know like as much about like Ultraman media to really like get a pinpoint like what exactly everything means.
See,
But
what
we'll
do
get
you
there.
what do you mean by BoonBoomger being more allegory focused?
Where it's like say it's like, oh, here's a creature and like here's all the like the damage it could do, right?
Oh,
I don't
right.
know.
It's more so
Yeah.
like in BoonBoomger, the villains are like a threat, but we don't see like the results of like, well, not always. It's definitely more cartoonish in
Yeah.
like the
Very it's
presentation,
yeah, it's
which
definitely the yeah, it's very Saturday morning
that's
cartoon.
I don't know. The cartoonish aspect has always been part of Sentai's identity to me.
Yeah.
That's kind of what sets it apart from Kamen Rider and Ultra.
Yeah, like I think this is other than like Power Rangers, this is like Boom Boonger is my first ever Sentai series.
Oh yeah, it's never too late to get into it.
Yeah. So it's interesting just like pick it apart.
Oh yeah. But anyway, so Mira is able to go around and correct like the other attempts at arsony from the Hush aliens, rounding up all the fire extinguishers. But obviously not all of them because there's a shot of Taya looking on through the city and just seeing gasoline or gasoline generate is all throughout. But meanwhile, we get back to Bundorio with his new idea on how to help Taya out, and he gets on his computer and he starts building a new weapon for him that we'll see shortly. So it's time for the big fight where everybody does their henshin together. Uh, See, there's a pretty cool shot in the fight scene of one of the foot soldiers getting knocked into boxes that I wanted to point out. I might include a visual of that just to show it off, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty cool. But the Boom Boongers struggle because the monster's firepower is just too much for them to handle. Their suits, start to overheat because of it. But Bundorio finishes his new weapon for Taya, the Zun Zun Shoka Blaster, which is basically like a fire like hose gun, that like firefighters use. And he sends Boon Violet to go give it to him. And the Zun Zun Shoka Blaster is actually voiced by Masaki Endo, who does the opening theme for Boom Boonger. So
Oh,
that
really?
was really hype to hear his
That's
voice.
sick.
Yeah, similar to how
Yeah, it
Rika
did sound familiar, didn't
Matsumoto.
it?
Oh yeah,
Awesome, awesome.
similarly Rika Matsumoto voices the Boom Boom Changer, and she does both sings the ending theme and voices Bundorio.
She also
But
did
anyway,
the opening for Kamen Rider Ryuki, right?
correct.
Nice.
Yeah, although her
Very
most
nice.
famous role is voicing Ash Ketchum in the original Japanese dub of Pokemon,
Oh, dang.
and also singing plenty of the opening themes. So yeah, she has a pretty storied history in both music and voice acting.
That's
and I've
sick.
really enjoyed her contributions to both in BoonBoomger. But anyway, we got our new super form, Boonred 119, which, if you don't know, 119 is basically like the number for fire emergency dispatch. So, like, sort of like a 911 type number.
Isn't it like Japan's 911?
Well, for firefighting specifically, like, if
Ah,
there's a fire. Because I think the general emergency number is 99.
I did not know that.
Yeah, yep, the more you know. But anyway, Boonred 119 is very conveniently set up to be able to take on the fire extinguisher auto monster. He's got fire hoses on his shoulder that can spew water to counteract the flames. And of course his gun shoots water as well, obviously. But let's see. Then blasts the monster to smithereens with the finisher. So yeah, that all works out. And then we got a giant. You got our obligatory monster versus robot fight of the episode, and we actually do get to see some onlookers reacting to that a little bit. So we do get a little bit more of that, like Ultraman, like the humans reacting to the
Oh yeah,
giant
they did,
emotion.
didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime
But
like I think it was back whenever we were covering Gotchard when I was like anytime I have like an issue with the show, they immediately fix it.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I think BoonBoomger's getting there. It's just my thing with his new outfit, like I'm really interested to see how like a water-based form is gonna like develop like further, you know?
oh yeah.
Uh
Which I mean, water is kind of like, people view it as like one of the weaker elemental powers. But I mean, if water pressure gets high enough, it becomes as sharp as a blade.
that's
So
true.
like they could totally make it like look powerful and threatening if
Oh
they
yeah.
get creative with it.
I have faith in
I,
them.
I mean that's I mean that's kind of like creativity has kind of been like a key strength of like Boom Boonger's fight scenes. Just
Yeah, with like
instead of
their
using brute strength,
they
like
got
that's
like all
kind of
those like different
something.
powers from their
Yeah,
suits.
or like using, for example, the base Boom Boonger Robo form using its screwdriver arm to like rebuild the monster to make it like weaker somehow, like stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
something that I think, um, I mean, technically all three currently airing, not Sentai, all three currently airing tokus have in common is just like a theme of being able to like create and just being, using ingenuity in battle instead of
Yeah,
just brute strength.
like the different like car-based powers in BoonBoomger, and then like legit like the power of imagination and arc, and then like the different combinations you can do with chemis.
Yeah, like alchemy
Yeah,
with Gotchard, and then like mechanical engineering for BoomBoomger, I would say is the usual theme.
yeah,
But anyway, we do get a really nice combo of a wing BoomBoomger Robo monster. So it's like the monster kaiju form, but with wings this time, and the finisher it does on the monster was pretty sick to see. But
yeah. The
yeah,
like
the
because it was a good end to this really creative looking auto monster.
oh yeah. But anyway, the gang finally see no, Taya's childhood drawings and learn about his dream of being a firefighter. And the episode ends with a pretty funny fourth wall breaking monologue by Candy Detective saying, dreams can always come true if you believe in them enough, or something like that. I don't know.
Very touching
But
ending.
oh yeah,
Thanks,
yeah,
Candy
very
Detective.
very fun episode overall. And I mean, Boom Red 119, like that is genuinely one of the coolest suits I've seen in a minute, between the like armor part with all the gauges on it, and
Oh
especially
yeah,
like the red and black. I don't know if that's I don't know what material it is, but it looks like more like latexy than like the spandex the other suits use.
yeah,
And of course, like the firefighter helmet that's like encased the back of his usual helmet. And also, one last detail is that if you look in the mouth, you can actually see like fangs like underneath where the mouth is that symbolize the lion fire truck mech he's gonna get in the next episode. So it kind of has like a minor lion motif to it.
Nice. And he's a leader too, so that makes sense.
Yeah, which yeah, I was pretty curious as to what, yeah, because the base forms are already so unique that I was curious as to how they were going to like make a super form out of that, and I can say I'm definitely impressed with what they came up with.
Yeah, same here.
But yeah, that's enough for BoonBoomger, and now it's time to get on some arc with episode 3, Unleash Your Imagination,
The
which
origin
is,
story.
yep, Ultraman Origins arc, except it's not going to be shitty like that X-Men movie.
Oh God.
But so yeah, Yuma wakes up from having a dream pertaining to Arc, and like it doesn't like specify, like it doesn't outright say to you that this is a flashback episode, but like as the events are happening, like Yuma says it's his first day at the job with Skip. You can just discern from the details that this is going to be a flashback episode, and it's in fact a flashback to the fight against the Zeton looking alien that was at the beginning of episode 1. Like we see the full incident of Yuma dealing with that monster.
And it looks
Um,
really cool too. I love the
yeah,
the the space designs.
oh definitely. Yeah, I always gravitated more towards like the aliens and space kaiju over like the Earth kaiju. I always thought the aliens were like even more just creative and unique looking.
Yeah, it's like they didn't have to like stick to one like I guess like aesthetic for what they were going for. Because I like last episode's uh kaiju, the one with the trunk.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that was a nice
it's like
one. Leoto.
yeah, Leoto, yeah, because he had that like uh that old timey like definitely he looked like a like an old god of sorts, you know,
Yeah,
old ancient god type deal. But then like the
but
aliens, it's like what the heck am I looking at?
yeah, the aliens always like look so out there. Like some of my favorite like alien designs in any media, honestly.
Yeah,
But we see Yuma's grandma, I think for the first time this episode, and we see her give Yuma the drawing of Ark from when he was a kid. Apparently, she found it in a storage unit, so we get to see where that comes from. And I guess him, I mean, we'll get back to it like when Ark shows up in the episode, but I guess him finally seeing this drawing again might tie into like how he's finally able to summon the Arc powers for the first time. But so Yuma's at Skip for the first time, and he's struggling to figure out what like the intricacies of Ubot or Yuppie and how it splits up into two entities that you got to name each entity correctly because it'd be like dead naming them if you get it wrong or something like that.
yeah, he gets very angry if you call them the wrong name
Yeah, but understandable.
because
It's a respect
it's
thing.
yes, it's U-Bot and P-Body when they're separated, but then it's Yuppie when they're together, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like it. It's like you wouldn't call Goku or Vegeta Gogeta, like either or. That's
that's
only their
true.
fusion name. But anyway, Skip come across a weird glowing mirage in the sky, which doesn't have any kaiju data, but could be kaiju related. So Rin and Yuma get tasked with watching over it. And meanwhile, it cuts to Yuma's grandmother, who's a school teacher, reading the story of Momotaro to a classroom. So that becomes kind of an emotional core of this episode once the kaiju rears its ugly head. Um, See, through exposition, we find out that Yuma lost his parents on the K-Day incident from 16 years ago when he was just 7, and it actually flashes back to that, and we see the kaiju Monogelos attack his family at the campsite, and Yuma's parents get struck with lightning, and I think it's left a little vague. I don't think it's like we explicitly see them
Yeah,
die,
because
so like
because
maybe
his
they,
dad tells him to run, and then he just gets out of there.
it's like if they don't die on screen, then they probably aren't dead, is the usual rule in
Yeah,
Tokusatsu. But Yuma runs off. Meanwhile, Arc, separate from Yuma, Arc appears and fights the kaiju. So that's an interesting tidbit. And then we see Monogelos's horn grow, and it gets blasted off by Arc. And of course, this is the same horn from episode 1, and of course, it falls in its usual place. And apparently, Yuma, as a 7-year-old child, was lost in the forest for 3 days, and apparently was just lying in some rocks when he got rescued and taken to the hospital. But his story was so outrageous, no one believed him. And another thing that kind of hints towards a bit of conspiracy going on is that apparently Reen was told that the kaiju died from oxygen levels not agreeing with it, which suggests that maybe there's a bit of a misinfo campaign going on where the GDF wants to conceal some facts about it. But I'm
yeah,
sure
that
we'll get into that more
yeah.
later.
I'm definitely ready to see how all that unravels.
Oh yeah, which we already got like themes of that in the previous season, Ultraman Blazar, of
Yeah.
like government conspiracy clashing with like the main team. So I'm curious how they'll do it differently. Hopefully, it's not like a retread.
I have faith because this show's been pretty dang solid so far.
Oh yeah,
Knock on wood.
but yeah, Rin and Yuma have a heartfelt conversation because Yuma is, even though he's clearly traumatized by what happened, he's not going to let it get in the way of his desire to save and help others and even kaiju. So that endears Rin to him early on. But so they get a call back to base um, because Yuppie's picking up on electromagnetic energy from the Mirage, and the Mirage opens up like an eyeball and just plops the kaiju of the episode Digalos down, which that's the name of the Zeton looking kaiju. So I guess it kind of has a similar design, but I'm not sure if it's like related,
Related or
like in the
not?
same
Yeah.
subspecies or what, but it has a pretty different name. So
They kind of had the same like general aesthetics. It's just the main difference is that it had two horns and like its face was weird.
yeah. There's a really nice shot of it, just like where it's like zoomed out of it just marching through the city. Almost feels like a Godzilla film, and
Yeah.
elect, it's resonating electrically with the monohorn, and causing all this destruction and earthquakes and stuff. So, Yuma's grandma's in her classroom trying to protect all these kids, and I honestly was wondering, like, if she would like die in this episode
Yeah,
because
me
we
too.
haven't seen her before this one. So I don't know where she's at right now. But so Digalos just lasers the entire city, destroying everything. And we even see the perspective of the tanks trying to take it down, but they're no match for it. But um then there's this really cool sequence of Yuma jumping through a puddle into like a mirror world.
Oh
Like
yeah, that
they
was
ripped that
cool.
shit straight from Ryuki. And it has a meeting with Arc. Apparently, Arc is powered by Yuma's imagination. I guess possibly in a literal sense, because he did draw Arc as a kid. Like as far as we know, he created Arc. So
Which
makes
that'd
me
be
wonder.
insane if that was the case.
there's a lot of like room for theory and speculation with that, because how the hell could Yuma's imagination create a whole Ultraman
Yeah.
complete with a transformation device that you can buy from Bandai? And like, I don't know, my theory is that Yuma himself might be of Ultra descent, and so is basically like through like he is of
Has that
Ultra
ever
descent,
happened
but I
in the
guess
show before? Like in the
um
series?
well, usually, at least from everything I've seen, it's either an Ultraman comes to Earth and bonds with a human, or an Ultraman comes to Earth by itself but masquerades as a human. So there's room for variation with that. But
I see. So it's almost kind of like what SSSS dot Gridman did,
a little bit, yeah.
but just like a different where it's like there wasn't any amnesia involved.
Yeah. But like my theory is that Yuma might be of Ultra descent but has no memories of it, but his imagination is what is bringing that Ultra lineage back to life, sort of. Or wait, um I should mention that it's at least confirmed that Arc is a separate entity named Lucian, I think, which that was like already revealed in like pre-release info. Like we haven't even gotten into that in the show yet. So technically not a spoiler, probably jumping ahead a little bit, I guess because it kind of conflicted with my theory now that I remembered it. But I mean, it still just raises a lot of questions, like how his imagination can be Ultraman's power source. But anyway, we get Yuma's first ever arc transformation, where he saves a jet from destruction and looks at himself in a skyscraper's reflection. And so, yeah, the fight begins between Arc and Digelos. Both parties got their barriers up, clashing with each other, just exchanging blows in a like the camera kind of pans around them in like a rotating shot. That's really cool. Or well,
Yeah, they do a lot of
it's probably
cool. It's
not
just
the
like
camera itself moving, but
yeah.
rather like they're on a podium that's like rotating, because we don't see the ground in that shot. So that's probably what they did. One of those little camera tricks.
Yeah, and it's I'm really surprised at how like it almost like ties into the main themes of imagination. Like it's really creative shots that they
Oh
do
yeah,
during the fight scenes.
yeah, yeah. It's I mean, it comes from a long heritage of unique and trippy cinematography that the Showa era seasons was known for. I can definitely see how they're trying to not just pay homage to it, but even like push further with it with modern technology, almost like the Shin series of films from Hideaki Anno and friends.
I loved Shin Ultraman.
Oh yeah,
So good.
but
Yeah, I'm happy we got the chance to see it in theaters.
oh definitely, that was a dream come
That
true.
and Shin
That
Kamen Rider.
oh yeah,
I was expecting Shin Kamen Rider to come out way later, but it was only
I
like
wasn't.
2 or 3 months. Was it?
I would have never even expected that to make it to theaters at all. Honestly, that
Yeah.
was just like a blessing. But anyway, Digalos, an extra eye opens on its head, and see, I think it knocks Arc down, and we see him land, and we get this cool shot where we see Arc's head like in an alleyway, and it really is good at conveying the scale of Arc, just how large he is. So Arc's trying to figure out how to get past Digalos's barrier, and doing his usual thing, like his once per episode, like taking a moment to pause and ponder, and then he gets his little light bulb moment where he gets the idea, and he does like a spacium beam type thing, but he whips the beam around like Goku did that one time, where he alters the trajectory of it to attack from behind Digalos, and blows it up. And when filming it, they actually exploded a real suit, which is something they used to do a lot in the classic seasons. Just have like a real suit explosion, so it looks um like it looks like the monster is actually exploding instead of just like a quick cut effect like usual.
Yeah,
And
it was crazy just seeing it just explode practically.
oh yeah,
It's like, man, that was really cool because like, and you don't really realize how cool something is until you've seen it for the first time. Where it's like, oh man, I wish like other shows would do this more often.
yeah, and especially when you look into like how hard it is for the production to even pull that off in the first
Oh
place.
yeah,
Because they very like that's the first time they've done that in like I don't even know how long. Like ever since I started watching like newer seasons, I don't remember seeing that at all.
yeah. It's
But
just the budget feels so massive for this show.
oh yeah, which it's still not like a huge budget, especially compared to like Hollywood and stuff.
Oh
But
yeah,
they've definitely, now that they've been expanding globally in the past few years, they've definitely been getting a lot more money. Because hell, they used to not even be able to make new kaiju suits. They just basically had to keep a rogues gallery of past kaiju for pretty much every episode and maybe have like one or two kaiju as like end game bosses that they can like originally create. So it's very refreshing to finally have some new blood in the kaiju legacy. And like having past kaiju return, like they still like do that here and there, and that's fine, but having like some more like unique designs is definitely a plus.
yeah. Just like growing that gallery even more.
Oh yeah. But anyway, Yuma wakes up revealing that this whole flashback episode was a dream that he had in the present day. And we see even more childhood drawings of Yuma's, of Arc's various weapons and form changes. So,
Yeah, that's like a
and it,
nice. That's a really good way to like tease the new forms where it's just like they're crude children's drawings, but then
yeah,
it's like the suit itself is so refined and sleek, where it's like that's
oh
a
yeah,
good way to like preview those suits without it being like super spoilery. It's like, oh,
yeah,
we're gonna do forms, and they're gonna look kind of cool, kind of like this.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a good way.
If only they kept to that and didn't just already reveal them in the opening and pre-release material. But
Yeah.
what can you do? Bandai's got toys to sell, damn it.
Yep. That's how they make their
But yeah,
budget back. All those toy sales.
oh yeah. Yeah, and then the episode ends with Yuma and Shuichido crossing paths on a bike trail and just shooting the shit, hanging out, and yeah, that's pretty much it for that episode. It was a pretty good one. Yeah, I think
Very much a fan.
we were pretty rigorous with that one, so I think we can go ahead and jump straight into Kamen Rider Gotchard. Episode 45, A Fateful Encounter, A Junction of Love and Hate.
It is Jungle Jan versus Gotchard and Majade.
Oh yeah, the the matchup that ended last episode's begins this episode. Um, let's see, we see Kajiki um, approach Hijiri, trying to reason with her and protect her, but Clotho appears and knocks him out. But thankfully, when Hijiri's taken away, they're able to get her GPS location with the smartphone Kemi. But Hijiri is currently trapped by Galia for some nefarious plotting. Meanwhile, the B plot of the episode continues, where Lachesis is about to be officially rehumanified. She's gonna get her, um, she's gonna become her human self again. But let's see, we actually see some maturity on Spanner's part, where he mentions that his trauma has been both his weakness and his strength. Where even though it's bogged him down and made him more cold, it's also given him the motivation to fight as a Kamen Rider. So it's cool to see, it like I don't know, his character felt like such a mysterious blank slate in the early episodes, but now we've gotten to know him a lot better, and
Yeah,
it's
like
pretty cool to see the. He's been a very unique character because he like at the beginning feels like he'd be like a sort of a villain type
yeah, almost
character,
like
at
a
least
almost
become
like a
one.
like a like a Virgil to Ichinotse's Dante. You know what I mean?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely like he's definitely a rival for sure, but I like how he's, still a good guy like the rest of them, part of the organization, everyone's best interest in mind, but he still has his own sort of things he's stuck, he's stuck in his ways about that makes him clash with Hodoro in a pretty natural way. But anyway, this Spanner says all this, and that reflects onto Lachesis saying that she remembers that, in her past life she was very selfish, but she also recognizes that she was ambitious because it turns out that her past life, she was actually a singer, and so she respects that about her desire to do her own thing. But um, meanwhile, Garyon and Atropos encounter Clotho because they've been kind of fractured a little bit, and it's again this obsession of like wanting to keep the family together, the quote unquote family of Garyon and the Abyssala sisters, and Garyon even agrees to spare Lachesis to try to win Clotho over. But
Yeah, and it's because like I think he's like, yeah, I'll spare you, and then we can be a family again. She's like, all right, screw Galia, we're back.
yeah. But meanwhile, Galia replays Hijiri's memories to convince her that she's a murderer to try to reignite that malice to turn her into, I believe, the battery amalgam again. And but Hodor and Kajiki thankfully are very close on her location as she gets chased down by the jungle amalgam, and so we get a you know round two against the jungle amalgam this time with Rainbow Gotchard, and but sadly they don't make it in time because Hijiri has fully given into her malice and becomes the battery amalgam. And so um, Gotchard is able to summon a Gotcha Bro of Steamhopper to take the amalgam out, but it keeps respawning just because her malice just persists. It's not exactly. I mean, it's some pretty heavy shit. Dealing with the trauma of her brother being a criminal and not being able to save him. Like you can't exactly hand wave that by killing the monster the first time. So it respawns. Um, but Kajiki, being the selfless bro that he is, hops in to take in the electricity from the battery amalgam and risking his life. For Hijiri's sake, of course. And
Yeah, Kajiki's got to be one of my favorite like side characters I've seen in the series so far,
oh,
just from
definitely.
all the Kamen Rider series I've watched.
Oh yeah, it's Kaiji Key is like they've finally proven to me that they can make like an engaging character who isn't a Kamen Rider, who does have agency in the story.
Yeah,
Like he doesn't even have any powers like like Renge and Sabimaru have. He's just a guy, but he's still been one of the best characters in recent memory, just even without any of that shit. Because
yeah.
he's just a cool guy and he's a good friend to Hodoro, but Gotchard takes the amalgam down again, and while Kajiki's doing his hero shit, he gives a monologue about his first meeting with Hijiri. He even acknowledges that Gotchard, like, even when he didn't know he was Hodoro, Gotchard was still motivating him to be brave for her sake. Um, and of course, Kajiki keeps taking the beat down from the battery amalgam just to hammer the point in. And finally, he actually repeats some things that he said to her in the previous, Kajiki and Hijiri arc from episode 10, and it calms her down and calms the amalgam down, and it finally settles her malice. And so we get a gotcha bro of UFO X, which destroys Jungle Amalgam, and then Rainbow Gotchard finally takes the battery Amalgam down for good. And
Doesn't he say
so,
something along the lines of "You can't stop following your dreams" to her?
uh, something like that.
Yeah, so it's in the ballpark, but it's what snapped her out of it the first time is what he says to her this time.
Oh yeah. So Minato suggests that Hijiri's memories should be wiped just to cure, well, I guess, yeah, sort of cure her trauma about her brother. Just, wipe the memories so that she doesn't even have the risk of becoming a Malcolm again. But she doesn't, she takes Kajiki's words to heart and decides she doesn't want her memories to be wiped. She wants to live with the burdens that, she can't avoid. And so this actually goes to show how much Minato has grown because he just walks off and allows Kemi Law to be broken, and basically puts his faith in Hodoro to fulfill his dream of allowing chemis to coexist with humans. And it's a very it shows just how much everyone has grown and learned. And
Oh yeah,
I thought, admittedly, I thought it would get a lot more dramatic by this point, per Reiwa tradition. Like we saw with Geats and even with Revice
yeah.
before it.
Geets was just insane by the end there.
Oh yeah,
The hair
but I
our
like
MC's a god now.
yeah.
But yeah, like I really enjoy this because like it almost feels grounded in its own way, where it's like everybody's almost on the same page with each other
Yeah,
because
it's
that's just
just
how influential Hodoro is and
yeah,
like how
it's able
passionate he
to
is.
yeah, it's able to show like the arcs of like the show is able to have like these arcs and ongoing like storylines that you feel invested in, even though it doesn't feel super dramatic. It feels like a lot more grounded. Like it almost feels like um you know a lot of people compare it to like Showa era Kamen Rider, which is a lot more episodic, and each episode feels pretty much on the same like playing field, where like each episode doesn't feel more important than the other.
Yeah.
And that's something
Um,
that's been really refreshing about Gotchard. Like I'm impressed that they were able to do a show like that, like in this modern era of writer, where usually like like super serialized drama and like rising stakes are always like what's being pushed. So it's nice to have a show like really break that status quo for once.
yeah. And
Because
not
like
only that,
even
but yeah,
because
you go
it's
ahead.
like even though like this is episode 45, but it doesn't even like feel like we're in an end game or anything. Like
Hmm.
everything
I
still
noticed that too.
just feels like so, like it feels like normal episode shit, which, and we
Yeah.
haven't really had like a near ending like that in a while. But I think it actually kind of ties into like this general theme of like like the Ouroboros, how it all comes to the same position. Like I feel like stuff that was prevalent in the beginning is now being reflected in the ending, like having like this almost sort of retread, you could say, of episodes 9 and 10. Like obviously not an exact retread because of how different the status quo is now, but like it feels like the show is literally becoming full circle. Like
Yeah.
as a matter of fact,
And
I think Wrestler G is this coming episode, that like the one after this. So
yeah,
we're
because
getting a lot.
I think they did the Deep Mariner, then they did Jungle Jan again. So it's like we're getting all those like real high stakes chemis from the beginning back. And
Yeah, and it's
not
almost
only
like,
yeah.
yeah, it feels like we're going like in reverse, just going back to the beginning.
Yeah, and it's also with that like there's that one episode where he's just like, "Oh, I hear like wind in my ears," and then he does like a Showa era transformation.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
that?
I
That's
remember that.
also that was really cool because it's like Geese didn't do that, and
Oh
like
yeah.
I feel like it's Hodoro is probably the most Showa-esque writer of the Reiwa era. Just in it's just general like worldview,
Yeah, he's the most like standard hero that we've had in a while. While
and then
also
like
just being a regular high school kid.
yeah, then Gav's gonna have a freaking like Kamen Rider Black Sun transformation. Just
Well, maybe not so extreme as that, but I mean, that's a whole can of worms that we'll get
yeah.
into when we
I'm
get to
interested
Gav.
in I'm interested in Gav. I'm interested in it. But I want to keep my expectations like level because I had really high expectations for Gotchard going into it after Geats, but then it was just like something I just didn't even expect. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
totally different from Geats. So I need to just keep an open mind for Gav
Oh yeah.
because like anytime I like say I play the Final Fantasy games, like anytime I play it, like I played 7, uh watched Advent Children, then I played Remake, and then I went on to Final Fantasy 8, and I'm like, this is a fun game, but I just hadn't picked it up in a while, you know. Same with like, I'm gonna get so much hate for this, but uh, I love Fallout 3. Fallout 3 is my favorite Fallout, and after beating 3, I went on to New Vegas. I'm like, this game's pretty good. I just didn't go back to it, you know. I guess it's just like that Steam dying down is a
Oh
big
yeah.
thing for me, and I just need to like not have that mindset when going
Yeah,
into
because
Gav
it's
because it's
like,
so different.
that's the whole thing. Because it's like they couldn't possibly like make a new season every year throughout the entire year and make each one feel like the same vibe. Because
Right.
it's like,
It's all different
especially
writers every year,
yeah,
right?
especially since they cycle out the staff so that they can like sort of overlap production, like have this staff do this thing for like the currently airing show while having other people work on like the upcoming show. It's like a production
Oh,
pipeline type
so
thing,
so
sort of
that's
like
so that's
Call of
kind of how they
Duty.
get. Okay, so that's how they get like all the different seasons out, like legit back to back.
Yeah,
So I remember
basically
there
the
wasn't
way
even
Call of
there
Duty
was
makes
not even a
games.
break between Geets and Gotchard.
Yeah, literally the
That
next
was
week you got a
crazy.
whole new show.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
And
that's
like with
why I like.
Ultraman, yeah, like with Ultraman, you said that that's only gonna be like 24 episodes.
Yeah, 20, usually 25 on average. And
That's
then
not
they
bad.
just have like a filler recap show basically for that time slot that just recaps past seasons lore and stuff.
Ah,
Yeah, the pipeline, admittedly, it's one of those things where if you look at it through a critical lens, like you wonder if like all the people working on it are getting like the breathing room that they need, especially when you consider it's not just like the TV show, but it's also movies and web specials and like all sorts of other miscellaneous shit on top of that. It's really a lot of content being churned out, and it doesn't create the most happy workplace environment sometimes.
mm,
Some people
oh yeah,
can get
I
pretty
bet.
overworked with that shit. So that it's kind of like there's a yin and yang to it, a light and a darkness to having the having a full 50 episode season every single year. But that's kind of what Kamen Rider always has been. It's about a being of darkness, choosing the light, and there's always a duality to these things.
Yeah,
There's still a little bit. We kind of went on a huge tangent, but there's still at least a little bit of
oh
this
yeah. It's like
episode
a
left to recap.
yeah, we got it's like a third tangent because we first talked about like general like tone and allegory. Then we went on to like cinematography and like Ultraman lore. Now we're on like just like looking towards the future since we are getting close to the end of Gotchard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still gotta watch. Didn't they do like a? We didn't watch the level 10 Kimmy movie, did we?
Oh, with that was the Gotchard and Geats movie. We watched that.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Then there's the Daybreak movie that came out.
Yeah.
That's
Which,
gonna
oh
be
man, I want to see it, but we won't be able to see it for like 6 months because we gotta wait until the Blu-ray comes out so like the fan
yeah.
subbers can rip it and
We
add
need
the
to start
subtitles.
supporting the official release of like all these shows on this podcast.
Oh yeah, that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah, we need to be like, oh, here's where you can buy the the Ryuki Blu-ray they just came out with.
Oh yeah, we gotta shill. We gotta
Yeah,
get
we
advertisement
gotta.
deals with Shout Factory or Mill Creek. All those people that put the DVDs and shit out.
But we wouldn't really have to do that with Ultraman. I mean, they're pretty much on top of that. You can go on YouTube and watch every single bit of Ultraman media right now if
Well,
you
I don't
wanted to.
think all of
I don't know if
it's
they have.
on
Yeah, I
YouTube.
don't know if they have all
I
of it,
know
but
just about all of it's
Arc is
on
airing.
Tubi, which is free. But yeah, you can literally go on YouTube and search Ultraman Arc free episodes, and you'll see official uploads by Tsuburaya, subbed and dubbed. Like that is fucking
That's crazy.
unfathomable to
That's
me. Like if
crazy.
you told me that 10 years ago, I would have lost it.
Yeah, like
Like
they
it
don't
used to
even
be
do that for like
so
regular
harder.
anime.
Oh what?
They don't even do like this level of simul dub for like most anime either.
Yeah, certainly not where they just put it on YouTube like as it
Yeah,
comes
like
out in
instantly.
Japan. See to finally finish out this Gotchard episode. Um, it cuts to Kajiki and Hijiri having a little date, watching the fireworks, and they spot just like at the end of episode 10, they spot a UFO in the sky, but instead of it wiping their memories, or it well showing up when their memories wipe, they actually get to take in the moment. And meanwhile, we hear a song being sung by Lachesis, who's I guess now officially been humanized, and which the song she sings is like a real song because Lachisis's actor is a professional singer, and so the song she's singing is like one of her singles, and yeah, it's
That's
a
a
really
cool
sweet
like
moment.
meta thing that they
Oh yeah,
implemented to the
it's pretty
show.
meta, but yeah, they always love doing meta shit like that, like any connections they can make. But yeah, and it's revealed that Gotchard and the gang were providing they were using their chemi risers to provide the fireworks as well as UFO X, which is a very sweet scene, honestly. And see,
Yeah,
and
Gotchard's a
then we
very
get
feel good show.
oh definitely, which I think that's I don't know. Gotchard feels like almost like it was made to be a foil to Geats.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I think that's
I
why so many people were like hard on it that really loved Geats because it was just so different and has continued to be different. But I think that's when Kamen Rider's at its best when it can diversify its portfolio like between seasons, like
yeah.
have something different each time. But yeah, Lachesis is learning to enjoy food for the first time because homunculi, don't exactly eat food. And Kyoka suggests Lachesis might fall in love with Spanner, to which she responds, "Don't make ridiculous jokes," the way Spanner says it. So, yeah, they're totally getting shipped together. But it gives you two ominous notes at the end. First of all, Garyon enters Lachesis's mind as if he's like communicating with her, and that kills her vibe, kind of makes her freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, most shocking of all, we see like this black snow of malice fall upon the cityscape as a VTuber on this giant screen publicly reveals the existence of chemis to everyone, which was just a huge thing I wasn't expecting so soon. They really
Yeah,
just
it just
dropped a
happened out of nowhere. There's a
bombshell out of nowhere.
random VTuber character being like, "Hey, Kimmys are real populous," and
Yeah.
yeah, it's about to go down. So I think we're finally in the last little arc.
Oh
This
yeah.
it's gonna it's gonna be global global scale.
Yeah. And I have a feeling with like how episodic the story has continued to be. I think like the rest of these episodes, it's like the end game is just going to be ushered in with like just these surprise bombshells that they hit you with out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
Which,
nuts.
quick, one final fun fact for the episode: the VTuber that you know reveals the existence of chemis is actually TV Asahi's official VTuber.
What the heck?
Um, yeah,
So another meta moment. That's crazy.
yeah, oh yeah. But
What the
yeah.
heck?
So chemis have been revealed, and I'm sure that's gonna ensue some chaos in these next few episodes of Gotchard. But until then, this has been the Otaku Sentai Podranger podcast, and we are now signing off. Until
See
next
you next
game.
game.